Yo, it's Guido coming at you with the Tactics Talk tank review of the Skoda T45 Czech Tier 7 Heavy. The brand new Heavy, the Czech line. I don't know if it's a Czech line. We don't have any information on it other than we have a Czech Heavy. Now, it has happened in the past that certain tanks have been released from entirely new nations and they've kind of languished and sat around for a while and nothing happened. So I don't know how fast a Czech Heavy line, if ever, is going to show up. However, if you're looking for a way to start a Czech Heavy crew, then you're going to want to play ranked and get a hold of this thing for 12,500 bonds. If you play enough ranked, you can unlock the ability to buy it. Oh man, I am going to leave the septic morass of ranked out of this. That's a video for another day. This is going to be a review of what is, frankly, a fairly average Tier 7. Now what that means is you're going to hear a lot of people tell you it's bad. It's not bad. It's average. It's balanced. Oh my God, it's balanced. What? Standard act, guys. If you are a believer that if a tank is not really good, then it's bad, then it's bad. If you are a believer in a pixel tank game where you would like all tanks to be as balanced as possible, yeah, some better, some slightly worse, this guy's in the middle. It really is. We'll see how the numbers pan out. I feel like it's a bit like the Caro. It's going to get a lot of bad press. I think the Caro's a little better. So if you think the Caro's really bad, you're really going to be disappointed here. But I think you're wrong. I think you're wrong. It's an average tank. We'll do this standard with my reviews, and I'll try to back up what I'm saying here as soon as I scroll to what I want to talk about. Standard act, guys. Overview, tech tree, considerations, the 3D model, a comparison amongst its peers. We'll give you my stats after 20 battles, my setup, and then we'll roll into two examples of the Skoda T45 Tier 7 Czech Heavy tank. That's actually pretty cool. Hey, you know what? It looks good. You know what I'm saying? Look at this thing. It looks like a tank. I have the concrete style on that thing. I think it's got quite a bit of a German influence, maybe some Russian thrown at it right there. This is a napkin tank, if we go over to the vehicle details. A project in the mid-40s based on Skoda concepts at the request of Porsche. There you go, the German influence. The plans called for using electromechanical transmission and a diesel engine. Such a design had been used for the Tiger P. It existed only in blueprints. So look at that. That's actually pretty cool, man. Could you imagine? You can actually see that thing late war, World War II, cruising around on the battlefield. So there you go. Angles-wise, decent angle on the top. The bottom plate is quite large, not well angled. Some interesting angles on the turret, which can, it actually is a decent turret. We'll take a look at that in the numbers. Not bad at all. It is a quite long tank. Lots of tracks, very wide for eating heat and HE, so long as that's the way those things work. Weak spot on the turret top right there, or on the hatch on the cupola, and it carries an 88. A disappointing, sad, it's a Walmart 88. I hate to say it. We'll talk about why in just a minute, and it does bum me out a little bit because I don't think it needed to be that way, but that's kind of why it's average and people are not going to like it. One of the reasons. We'll get to that. So there you have it, overview complete. Let's take a look at the tech tree considerations, such as they are. Let's touch on this real quick, because this is actually pretty good. Skoda T45, more experience, because it's a premium, more credits. All right, it's actually a premium, guys. Credits and experience. Free transferring crew without penalty. Standard act for a premium, but I just wanted to make sure, you know what, you're getting more credits. That's actually pretty darn cool. We go to the tech tree, we'll see that there's only a Skoda T40 as a premium for the Czechs, and that's a medium, and now we've got the T45, which is the premium heavy tank. The heavy tanks don't start. Oh, I'm sorry, there are none. So there you have it. Tech tree considerations complete. You're going to create a new crew, or you're going to transfer some crew that's a medium crew and pay gold, or you're going to make a new crew, or use the crew that comes with it, and start grinding yourself a nice Czech crew. We're going to take a quick look. What does that look like? You're going to have a commander, gunner, driver, radio operator, and a loader. We'll see what Crew 2.0 does. I wouldn't get too wrapped up around it. I would just, grab this thing if you want it and you want to start grinding your Czech crew and do so. I would imagine the tier 8, 9, and 10 are probably going to lose the radio operator at some point because they're going to be designs further down the road. If they actually, if they actually do a check heavy line. So let's take a look at the 3D model. 3D model. Now the armor is okay-ish. It's interesting at tier 7. A lot of the heavies have kind of crummy armor. If you really think about it, it's not amazing. The turret is okay at the 180-ish. We'll take a look at what the actual number is later on. But you can see the effective armor, 200, 190, something like that. Now that's going to let you do a little bit of turret poking and hold down stuff against other tier 7s that haven't dabbed 2, and the tier 6s and 5s that are going to quake in their boots every time you show up. Pretty good as far as that goes. Now, the whole armor is at 160 here, 126 effective, but notice that if I can get any kind of look down, i.e. they're looking up, it starts to get a lot better, and then we get into this kind of situation, although the gun depression isn't quite enough to really take much effect of that. But you can see also the weird angles on the turret can cause some issues as well, depending on the angle at which you're poking out right there. The side doesn't have a whole bunch. If you go flat plate, it's only 70 something, 76. Let's see if we can get what we get down to, about 80, I guess, right there. 70 down lower, 74 up there. And then of course the weak spot on the top is quite weak at 70 or so effective right there in the mantlet. Various strengths of the mantlet. You got the gun and all that good stuff. Looks like maybe a little weak spot potentially right there. And it's hard to tell what that's modeled on right there. To be honest, I don't see anything that's making it lower, so not sure if that's actually a different armor thickness or what on that vision slit right there. So okay-ish armor. We'll take a look at the numbers. The numbers I have kind of back that up. It's going to be a averagely armored tier 7 heavy, which can be quite indifferent, especially when you're seeing 7s and a lot of the 8s, and when any of them press 2, they're going to just be buttering you. You're looking for the weird angle bounces at that point. All right, let's move on. The comparison. I have quite a few different tanks here. I've got the Skoda and the Caro, the T29, and then some premiums, some of the usual suspects. The IS-2M, which I consider to be the best IS-2 variant. The 4503, which is a pretty decent premium tank for the Germans, and then the King Tiger C, which is the Prime Gaming collaboration, and then a couple of the classics, Tiger 1 and IS, and then the Black Prince, which is kind of known as the heavily armored tank. So taking a quick look at this, let's just address the thing that I talked about a little bit earlier, and let's just all cry in our beer about a 220 Alpha 88, which you have to assume is based on the German 88, based on the time it was built, and Czechoslovakia, the Balagia, yeah, that place. I don't know why they chose to do this. It's very weird. Now, let's drop down here real quick. We'll get to the pen in just a minute. The rate of fire is actually the highest among all of these except the Black Prince. So the Black Prince is this design of a very slow, very heavily armored pew-pew gun. Shoots very fast but has a very anemic 150 Alpha with the 171 pen, which is actually not that great standard pen. The Skoda T45 is ish like that with a 194 pen, much better pen. Hits for 220, which is way better than 150, but it's less than all the rest of these guys. And if we drop down here, it gets you to 1788 on the average damage per minute. One of the strengths of this tank is that it does fire quickly. It's not rapid fire like the Black Prince, but it will surprise people. And since the debuff of the rate of fire on the Tiger, it's actually a faster rate of fire than the Tiger 1. Not by a lot, but some. The Tiger 1 is dropping 280 and gets it up to 2,246 DPM, and this poor thing is sitting at 1788, which is not Caro levels. It's 100 more than the Caro, and that's one of the big knocks against the Caro, but it's not a lot more than it. So it's a weird thing that you've got some pretty decent average penetration. Not great. It's worse than the Caro, by the way. Fast-ish firing gun. Anemic Alpha, and we only roll out with a 1788 average damage. Now let's take a look at the accuracy, because the point of all that is, okay, great. That's the Alpha. That's the DPM. What is the likelihood of me hitting and penning? Well, the pen's decent at 194. We'll get into the gold pen later on. The aim time's 2.4, which is right in line with most of this stuff along here, even the Tiger. And then the dispersion is actually pretty good at 0.36, not Tiger levels of 0.33. But 3.6 is right in line with, or better than, a lot of these other heavies. The IS is atrocious at 0.44. You have the Tiger at 0.33, which is better. So it's in there. It's in there. The gun is decently comfortable. And it fires fast, and that's a good thing. That is a good thing because the rounds are going to come out much faster than people expect, and I'll show you that in the replays what that kind of does for you. Does it make it an amazing, great, fantastic tank? No, but it's a balancing decision that they've made. And there's a lot of kind of odd duck tanks that Wargaming has put out lately. Some of them will work, some of them haven't. I think in this case it's pretty average, but I thought it was interesting. If they raised this to 240, that would actually knock up the average damage per minute quite a bit, and then they would have to lower the gun loading speed or increase it. So, you know, see what I'm saying? They're kind of giving you a fast-firing gun, but they had to balance it. I think they made it a little more anemic than they needed to, but you know what? 17.8, look at the rest of these 1700s. These are all decent tanks out there. Not amazing, but decent. It's just, I keep saying this. It's interesting. I don't know how it's going to pan out. I think it makes it pretty average, though. And if they increase the alpha to 240, it would be a fairly amazing tank. So that's the trick. Do you make it 230? Do you make it 225? They kind of avoid those breakpoints like that, or those not by tens points out there. So I don't know what I think of it yet. We'll talk a little bit on the replays how it turns out for the tank, because it's important to look at stats, look at the stats of the tank, but then give it a test drive and see what the entire package does for you. Okay, don't discount stuff just because the stats are bad. That is the biggest thing I have learned from doing this for 3 years or so now, is you simply cannot look at the stats and go, herder, it's bad. You have to look at how the whole package fights, because there may be some important things you missed in those that make it actually decent or average. All right. Hit points are okay at 1400. It's near the high end, so it has some staying power. Hull armor is okay at 110. You can see it's right in there with most things, minus the black French, which is heavily armored. The turret is in that meh zone, in that not terrible zone like the Caro, although the Caro's turret is well angled, and it's small and hard to hit. This is a bigger turret, but it's 160. So it will give you, like I said, some bounces against same tier to lower tier. Occasionally, if some of the higher tier stuff with low pin doesn't press 2, you might give them trouble with the turret. So it's not amazing, but it is decent. Because you can see that IS-2M's at 100 and the VK's at 100. King Tiger's got a nice buff to 185. And of course the Black Prince at 240. But you can see it does rise above a good portion of these. So a slightly more usable turret than a lot of these tanks. Mobility is garbage. This is probably the Achilles heel of this thing, and it's really the thing that's going to make a lot of good players dislike it a bunch. So you're going to get very good players telling you this is complete garbage because it's slow. Got it. Its flexibility around the playing field, around the match, around the map is not great. It's not Black Prince slow at 20, but it does lag behind the rest of these. I don't really know why it needed to be that slow. I don't think it would make this tank overpowered in any way to give it 35, to at least be closer to what some of these other things are doing here. So you will very much notice the anemic, slow forward speed of it. Good news, it's got 14 backwards, so that's actually pretty nice, fairly comfortable. Traverse speed is mediocre at 26, so I'd recommend that skill on your driver. Clutch braking to help you get spun around, and I don't remember the turret traverse is 25, so also kind of slow. You will notice that trying to track targets that are fast and moving around. Camo is heavy tank camo at tier 7, nothing to write home about, and 370 on the view range is reasonable. It's not 350 low like say an IS-2M. It's not at the top. The rest of these, the best is 380, but 370 is certainly reasonable, and it's not hurting the tank inordinately. So what would we say about this? Lots of average numbers. Its kind of strength is the ability to shoot rounds down range, but that is countered with a 220 alpha shot, and you're going to notice a lot of 180s and 190s, and that's going to make you want to cry a little bit when you're driving a heavy tank at tier 7. You know, you hit that tier 8 and you pen and you get a 180 roll, you're going to be like, ugh, that's a little hard to take at tier 8. I think if they just added 10 or even 20, I don't think it would make this tank overpowered. It would certainly make it way better, and maybe you increase the reload time a little bit, but if it was closer to a 19 or 2000 DPM, it would be a really solid tank. As it is, the way it's set up, I think it's pretty average. Let's take a look at my stats and how I did in the tank. I played 20 battles in it, guys. I got a 65% win rate with a 1,000 average XP. That's actually pretty decent. You know, so there is a point at which you look at stats and things, and then you play the tank, and you have to take into account how you did. Low sample size. Do I expect it to be 65% after 100 battles? No, I expect it to be 55 to 58, maybe 60. Maybe it actually is, for my play style, that good. We'll find out, because I will play eventually 100 battles in it if I can get a hold of one anyway. I don't think I'm going to do it in the rental period that I have. But at 1,000 experience and 20 battles and a 65% win rate, doing pretty good. And if we look at the numbers, 40% survival, yeah, 72% hit, that's decent. Like I said, the gun is not bad. We got a 1.37 damage and a 2.25 destruction. There's that armor use right at that, it's effective in the right situation kind of zone, the 0.5 zone. Okay, so that's what I would expect based on those numbers. I sort of expected a little better, and it was running a little better earlier on, but then I got a couple battles where I got shredded a bit. So we'll see where that goes after 100 battles, but I expect it to be in the 0.4 to 0.6 range. Experience over 1,000, that's actually pretty good. If I can get a 7 over 1,000, then I'm doing pretty decently in it. I always want to be somewhere around 1,000 at tier 7 and above, but actually being over it in a tier 7 in what people would call it an average tank, I'd call that pretty good. 1,547 is near the high end for my heavies. For example, the Oni is at 14, the IS-2 is at 16, a little bit higher, running a 71% win rate after 262 battles and a 1,067 experience. You can see those numbers are really kind of sticking around where they would be for me in this game. 364 on the assist. So I actually enjoyed it. You know, I got done with the 20 battles and I went, boy, I expected this to be a lot worse. Now, I'm a better player than I was in the past with some of these other numbers. So I'm getting a lot more out of what I would call average tanks, but you can't discount the fact that I did pretty good in this tank. Granted, low sample size, we'll see what happens after 100, but I really don't think it's going to fall off the cliff and be a 50% tank. It just isn't. All right, let's take a look at my setup. This is pretty standard, guys. There's not a whole bunch to say here. I had a decent crew. It is a new crew. I threw some books at it because I wanted to have a good crew, so I didn't really do I have a brand new tier 7 heavy and grind through a new crew act. I just check books at it. So they were 3 skills working on their 4th. This guy, I think I ran out of... These are actually check 0 skill brothers in arms guys. This dude is just an extra guy, so he doesn't have that 0 skill, so he's behind them, the loader back there, but you don't lose too much on the loader by doing that. They have brothers in arms. I'm running vents in the bonus slot, a rammer, and a improved rotation. It does not have a vert stab, so I think that's probably your best loadout right there, unless you're going to do some specialty, put your hardening on or do heavy tank stuff or whatever. I think that's probably the most solid setup for this. I'm running 54-8 heat rounds. The heat round is giving you 250 pen, which is decent. Not amazing for a tier 7. There are some tier 9 heavily armored things you're going to have a little bit of trouble even with your heat round getting through. A little bit unusual that you don't get that much out of a heat round, but there you have it. It is slow, and the AP round is slow. So you will notice that. This is a bit of a softball shooter, and that hurts. The medium to close range shots, you won't notice it. Once you get to the medium out to the longer range shots, you're going to notice the very softball-esque shots, and that makes it hard to hit moving things or far away things with accuracy. It's just, well, moving things mostly with the shell velocity, trying to aim at weak spots, stuff like that. Large kits, no food, no directives. This is just what I use. I didn't go try hard mode on this at all and still had pretty decent results. So that is my loadout. Let's go ahead and take a look at 2 games. Now notice my loadout brings it up to a 2,000 average DPM, which is pretty decent, and a 0.35 dispersion. You throw on food and some other things, you can drop this stuff down. All right, let's take a look at a couple of examples. All right, first example, we are here on Himmelsdorf. It's a little joke. It's not Himmelsdorf. It's Ruin Line, Siegfried Berg. Siegfried Line spawned into the north. Oh man, so we got everything all messed up. Why does it do this? I wish it would just, when I tell it to be in colorblind mode, every time it starts this thing, it should be in colorblind mode. Doesn't matter if it's a replay, but anyway, here we go. on Siegfried Line, spawned into the north, and it is an encounter mode. This is the game that made me say, you know what, at least it fires fast. You know, I was kind of cruising along playing it, wasn't hating it, wasn't amazed by it. I was noticing the low alpha, that was painful. And on this game, I remember thinking to myself, well, surely fires fast. That has to be worth something. Even if you're only dropping 220, and a lot of times you see things like 180. Ow. Ouch. So we'll come in here and fight from the middle here. I really like this position. It's a dominant position. It gives you a lot of different ways to go. You can anchor your team's defense or even their offense if they're going to be aggressive. You can get peeled out of here if the enemy team is aggressive and yours isn't able to keep them back. But early on, times like this right there was a 225. Plenty of pen to go through the side of the IS-3 right there. Early on, if you don't get pushed too hard, you'll be fine for a while. And this allows you an opportunity to get some shots. I actually got a little spotting damage right there. Get the HTC. Fairly comfortable, right? I mean, I'm not telling you it's a sniper, and you don't want to do a whole bunch of snap-a-lama ding-dong with it, but it can work. Soft stats are decent, not amazing. Here's the speed. Now, the reverse speed I like at 14, because in situations like this where you're back and forth, maneuvering around, the slower reverse tanks are very painful in those situations. This one is, for a heavy tank, fairly sprightly and moving, backing out and being able to reposition locally in these little micro positions here. So we're just trying to find a way to get a shot on any of these guys. Pretty standard. My team's all on the north side of the buildings back there, and I'm really the only one forward. Although I just noticed the 34-3 and the scout have moved forward, at least to keep them honest. So this is a good setup for our team. We've come in and taken some important spots, and now it's going to be very difficult for the purples / reds to push in and retake some of the spots that we're owning here without taking some damage now that we're in position. So we're just going to mess around here for a minute. I see the Tiger 1. I just noticed him on the map. There's the ISM. He's not paying attention. I'm going to try to sneak a shot into that guy.
Critical hit.
Even with the heat slightly angled, that's a heavily armored front part of the tank. Even the lower plate's fairly heavily armored on that tank and the ISM. That 250 heat I talked about, that's where it's just not quite as reliable as you might like. There you go. There's a little bounce from the Tiger. That's that highly angled. I didn't really pay attention exactly where it hit, but there it is. So I think he actually hit the highly angled front. I really want to come out and kill this guy and accept a shot just to get rid of the mod gun. So we'll take that gun out and we'll just accept the shot. Su-152. I don't want to go out that far again. There's the T-25-2 just died, so he was there, then the Tiger and the Su-152, and I figure I can probably get a better angle on this guy over here. Sneak one in on him there. That works. He's going to make a runner. Looking for cover. This is a whole big old mistake for him. I'm going to try to track him. There we go. That works. He has a repair kit. The speed at which it reloads. Watch, so I'm just kind of in it. And that was just a bad move on my part. I'm able to shoot. I don't have to wait too long. I don't have that 9-10 second reload. Tiger one's very similar though. The way he fights is the same way. Reloads about the same time. So look how I'm just kind of, I'm in here getting shots as fast as possible. I sort of spammed the heat early. Wish I hadn't done that. We'll just make sure he goes away because he's fighting two people and that's very difficult to do. He doesn't quite see me, so we're going to go ahead and try to get into his little extra turret. So that's really what I wanted to show you on this one, how fast this thing engaged. And now I'm reloaded again, and I'm up here shooting these guys. But notice that's a 210 roll. It's like, oh my gosh, a 210 from a tier 7 heavy. That is so painful when they back out. So there's definitely something to be said for being able to put shots downrange. Yes, the DPM's not amazing. Yes, the alpha's not amazing, but you're hitting people, and that makes people nervous. They don't like it, and they try to get something else going on when that happens. Now, we're kind of getting pushed in here, and I decided to make a little runaway action. There's this dude. Try to shoot him. All right.
Got him.
Decently comfortable gun at .35. Not amazing, decently comfortable. And that's what this tank's about, man. It's just everything is so relatively average. with the slight bonus of at least shells are going down range relatively quickly, that it is a fairly comfortable, for a tier 7 heavy, a fairly comfortable tank. You know, with the, say the T-29, you got that really long reload, right? And it's not very mobile, although it's probably more mobile than this thing if you think about it based on its speed. You got that long reload, and yes, you hit hard, but you have to work around that. Tiger 1 fires about as fast, but its turret's not as good. The flat plate turret is a bit painful on that thing. That's a bounce, unfortunately. The T-29, we got to back out. I don't know what this ISM's doing. He's lost his mind. He thinks he's going to be able to come across there with his armor. They really want to get rid of this T-34-3. This dude has been a thorn in their side the entire game. He's done a really nice job baiting.
We've lost the track.
Finally take a big hit from the T-29. So I know I can get some... Oh, God, come on, dude, the other way. Nope. Hung it out a little bit right there. I'm glad he was not able to get that shot, or wasn't quite reloaded, whichever it was. Take down that guy, and all of a sudden what was looking a little tight is broken open. I just want to get in here and try to find this T-29, see if we can kill him off. I really should have actually shifted left and went for the shot. Even if the guy would have hit me, I may have got another bit of damage in there. So a little tentative at the end there. 2,348 damage, 5 kills, 558 assists, and really, this game just so sums up this tank. It was a good average game. You know what I'm saying? It was a good game, not amazing. It was just kind of workmanlike, and that is a lot like what this tank is. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot like what this tank is. I don't get that kill because I'm not fast enough. That's one of the problems with this tank. Just the speed, gobbling up late game, mid to late game damage, or repositioning on more open maps. I fought this all from one spot basically, so mobility didn't hurt me. But late game like this, I'm trying to get to another position, or maybe I really need to reposition somewhere quickly, get back to cap to save it, or I've got to go somewhere else to help somebody on another flank. It's going to struggle. It is. All right, let's look at the second example I've got for you. Second example is my first ace tanker in the tag. As a matter of fact, it was the 20th game. I think I did it on stream as well. We're top tier, right? All right, I'm not showing you a bottom tier where you're taking on 9s.
Enemy armor is damaged.
Because every tier 7 heavy struggles to do that. Any tank struggles to deal with bottom tiers. You're just going to have to play it carefully. The 250 heat is going to be a little bit less than you want. I'm going to try a little bit, in this case, of sniping, and that's where your .35 on situations like this can hurt you a little bit.
That one didn't go
I bounced
through.
him right there. Looks like I went slightly right and got into his well-angled side. The Tiger's doing a pretty decent job of trying to do this. I talked about this, or maybe it's a video coming up later. I get a shot
Enemy is hit.
in on him there. I talked about this idea of side scraping when you're reloading. I don't. Why would you expose yourself during that time? You're just asking to get tracked, or maybe somebody gets a lucky shot in, or fires HE at you. You should really just go hide and then reload.
Enemy armor is damaged.
The Tiger one reloads fast enough that maybe he feels like it's just as good to do this. So we can come out and fire every chance he gets. We're going to try to get up into his upper plate for another shot in there. Firing all my heat though, so I'm about out of my heat for that flat plate armor. That was a hasty shot, but look at the decent bouncing and difficulty they're having shooting me here. Go ahead and shoot the turret. Artie's taking little chunks of me, and I'm getting tracked. Let's see if we can go ahead and put one into that turret. There we go. Plenty of pen for a Churchill 7 right there at 190-ish or whatever it is. 3045M is right around the corner there. And we're sitting at 194 pins, so not 195. Already taking little chunks of me, keeping me stunned. That does make it a little more difficult for my gun to work.
Let's go.
I'll go ahead and take that shot.
We've lost the track.
Another bounce. Really would like to shift. I gotta wait for it to repair.
Get going.
There we go. Oop. Oh!
We've lost the track.
Somehow, as I shifted, the Tiger got a pin on that one, and he already got a chunk of me. So I need to stop letting them have shots and try to get some of them dead. We're going to have a little bit of a snipe right there. Holy cow, that was RNG and a half. AT-7 gets in there and starts giving them trouble. We're at 2,000 damage and 44. Two flanks are doing decently, so I don't feel like I need to push this too hard. The AT-7 makes a bit of a bonehead move. Now the SU-8 has figured out where I am. He's taking chunks. That's going to change my calculus because I'm going to have to do something different. I can't really sit there and let the SU-8. So I've got to go try to peel this Tiger 1 out of this hole here. And I find out that he's actually pushed around back behind. So he's gone around behind that, maybe worried about the AT-7. So let's go ahead and try to back this guy up. And then I see a shiny object in the Saint Emil, and I've got some shots here. So I'm going to bonehead this shot. Bounces off of his gun. A little bit torn on this one. I remember thinking about it when I was playing. Do I farm the Saint Emil and try to hurt him and maybe get him dead? Or do I go get rid of this Tiger? Because I feel like the Tiger is kind of important to get rid of so we can then clear out this middle part and start working on these guys. I get my 2 shots. He doesn't die. I don't know. But the Eagle 7 gets in there and does a nice job taking a chunk off the Tiger 1. The AT probably should have pushed in, but I know he could worry about being a 1-shot. I actually bounced his shot.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
But somebody had to get in there and get rid of that dude. Because this is still hanging in the balance. We've lost over on the other side. We got a Su-85 up there that these guys are taking on. I'm going to try to go up this ramp maybe and get a shot on him. Gets me spotted, unfortunately. Now I need to back down because I don't want the E-25 and the various other guys up on the side, on the east side, to take any pot shots at me. I'm also kind of exposed to the last artillery. Then I noticed the AT-2. How on earth did he do that? But he did it. Good on him. An AT-2 is coming from my cap direction side. I think previously unspotted. I don't know if he'd been seen. But it did surprise me at the time. I have plenty of pen to go through the hole of an AT-2, and he has no pen. I knew, though, I was going to be exposed to the stinking Arby yet again. So he takes another chunk off of me. Got my gunner. We'll go ahead and burn the repair kit, or the med kit, and let's head back to cap because I've got a stirb up in there. The E-25 is worrisome. The Saint Emil hits nice and hard. In fact, I'm a 1-shot to the Saint Emil. Fairly easy 1-shot because 490 alpha on that thing. And the stirb is tearing things up, and I know he's got backup from these 2 TDs up there. The first thing we got to do is get rid of them. Alright, that's a bummer. I got spotted. To be honest, I don't have any idea how. Maybe the stirb did through the opening, or one of the other guys was closer. That actually surprised me to get spotted there. And then all these openings in these buildings is going to be a problem. I think I actually take a hit. I do. So now I got to stop. I don't want to let him do a timing shot. Then I notice I actually have a shot on this guy. And I don't have to expose to the E-25. The Arty's dead. That's nice. And now I'll just hang out behind these bushes from the E-25. Yeah, that might have been a little soon, actually. I'm glad he wasn't taking a timing shot. It had been a while since I was seen, but I was making a move towards that opening. Then I see the Saint Emil in the back. Now he's gone. Perfect. And we've only got an E-25 to worry about. Now I'm going to speed this up because I take some blind shots in the bushes here. Get my kits back, and we'll start moving over this way. And it's looking pretty much like a win. We'll come here. I just don't want to one-by-one go to a bushed-up E-25 and have him take us out. So I get spotted doing that. Find him, get a shot. He takes another, I get a bounce because I'm decently angled. I get another bounce, and then he decides he's got to make a runner. So I thump him for 180. There's that 180. I don't think I would have killed him. It would have taken quite a high roll to actually kill him. And now I'll chase him because I know he's going up there. We'll take a blind shot. Just hope it hits him, but it doesn't. I get spotted, but I'm able to get up underneath this ridge. Now for the approach here on the gold spamming E-25, I don't want to just go up and over because I'll have the bottom of my hole exposed. He'll get 2 shots before I even get up and over and get a shot. And I'm not even sure I'll get a spot on him. If he's smart, he's far enough back or will pull back and won't get spotted when he shoots. But as we're about to find out, he's not that smart of an E-25 driver. What I'm going to do is use these bushes to mask the old approach. Get shifted around, and then we're just going to go at him. We're at 46 seconds. Fairly confident he's not going to be able to clean everyone up in 46 seconds based on where they all are. So the plan is let's just expose ourselves. If he takes a shot and gets spotted, I get a kill, or maybe the Arty, or at least maybe I get a shot before he 2-shots me, because that's what it's going to take right here. Could be the case that I come out and he shoots me twice, bushed up, and he's smart, and I die. But he's not. I just get spotted. I keep thinking he shoots, and he's moving, and I'm able to go ahead and sneak that shot on there. 3 kills, 3,680 damage, 567 assist for an ace tanker in the Skoda T45. So, okay, whatever, you know. You're like, Guido, so what? A good player in any Tier 7 heavy can have a game like that. Yes. Yes, they can. But it's average, so it can do what other Tier 7 heavies can do. Don't let anyone talk you into the fact that it's terrible. I don't know if it's 12,500 bonds good, but let's wrap this thing up. Alright guys, thanks for watching the review. What's the bottom line? This is an average tank that I did well in. There are a couple things to like. The rate at which it fires is something to like. The armor is decent. It's a cool looking tank. The sum of the parts makes it a pretty good whole overall. So don't just look at the stats and say, ooh, it's terrible. I'm not trying to tell you it's an amazing tank, but it's balanced. It's balanced. It just really is. I like the rate of fire. That's a lot of fun to be able to get those shots down range, and you don't lose too much alpha off of that for the balancing aspect, but I think it really should be 240 alpha. I think it would be a much cooler tank. I don't think the idea of making it reload faster and dropping the alpha bit and then keeping its DPM somewhere around the rest of the Tier 7s really works that well. But again, it's fun to keep on shooting people, right? If you've got the opportunity. So you need the opportunity to do that. All right, so how do you get this thing? That's the other subject. This is a little different than what they've done. It is a new line, potentially, if they're going to put Czech heavies in the game. In the past, they've made that something you would buy. It is a premium tank, but it's right now behind the ranked wall. And I am just not going to subject myself to ranked gameplay. It's so toxic and bad, in my opinion. You have to do it, though, if you're going to get a hold of it. And then you've got to pay bonds. So this is odd, right? Is it going to be a case of sometime in the future they'll sell this for money as part of the Czech heavy line? Is it really the Harbinger? Is it really the you know, here comes the Czech line information? Is this the intel we're looking for? I don't know. There's no info out there. So it's a hard one for me whether I would recommend to get it. 12,500 bonds is a lot, especially if you consider you can get a Tier 10 reward tank for 15,000, right? The M60, I mean, isn't that 15,000? You can get a discount, though, based on how you get through the missions for ranked. So probably a lot of people aren't really paying 12,500 for this because they've knocked out some missions and got a discount on it. So that's good. That's good. It seems like a second chance, though, or second option, because really the KPZ 50T is the main prize people are going for. So either it's a case of you didn't make quite enough bonds or don't have enough bonds to get the KPZ, as far as the bond unlocking part, not the concept 1B part. I guess at the end of the day, ranked still has its feet in last year, and they reworked the battle pass to bring in some of these other tanks that were rewards for other modes, and that's pretty much its own thing now, except ranked is sort of attached, but now we've got these couple tanks that are still behind the ranked wall. It's a little bit weird, right? It's kind of clunky. I wish there was a better way to get this thing. I would like to have it in my garage. I like the tank, but I'm just not going to play ranked to get it. I wouldn't even care if it was completely overpowered. I wouldn't play ranked to get this tank. Anyway, that's all I've got. Thanks for watching the review. We did kind of veer off into the ranked discussion. I did say we wouldn't necessarily do that, but it is part and parcel of the tank. That's how you get it. So some of that discussion has to be attached to this, because the way you get this tank, as far as an initial rollout, is weird. It is. It's weird. That's all there is to say about how you get the tank. Thanks for coming. That's all I've got. We will see ya.